Let's get started with this video. In this video, I'm going to explain you how I created an online code compiler web application where user can provide code and input, and the application will serve with corresponding errors and outputs. The application is capable to run C, C++, Java, and Python languages right now, but it can be extended to any language currently in use. The main edge of the application is that you don't need to switch between web pages to run different languages code, since it's all available under single domain only. I will also provide the GitHub link for the code base. Let's first start the Tomcat server to see our web application. I named it I named it as Let's Compile. The server is started, so let's go to the Chrome browser to see our web application. Writing the URL localhost colon 8080. 8080 is the port number for Tomcat server in my system. You can configure it to change to some other port number. Let's compile. Enter. This is a very basic web page for online compiler. It can be made more expressive by embedding good CSS in it. My main focus was on the backend part, so I only built a basic structure on which I can at least work. First of all, we have a drop down list of languages through which we can select desired language. Upon selection, Hello World code for that language will automatically be displayed. Now, here is the code section where you can write any code which is error free or with errors, and the output will be generated accordingly. Let's have an example where we write a code to print numbers from 1 to 10. Now, see, the output has been generated gracefully. Now let's make some errors to see if your application is working properly or not. Suppose I forgot to put this semicolon at the end of cout statement. Upon running the uh, upon running, I get the error over here only. Well, it works properly even with errors. Now let's try to provide some input and see if it provides the desired output. The output I'm providing is, let's say, 123 or 132. See, the output has been generated, and so our application is working all fine. Let's get to the backend to understand the process, what's really happening at the backend portion. I had opened the Let's Compile folder in VS Code. Here, index.html has the basic structure of the page with embedded CSS and JavaScript. In the form has the HTML is built upon the form which will sorry, which will send the data from the client browsers to the server. Let's get a overlook of the CSS and JavaScript files. The border is used to see the size of divs and are set to white color in case if I want to improvise the UI again in the future. It is a smart trick to give borders with black color when designing, and then after we are fully satisfied, changing them to white or removing them. Now, JavaScript code is used to provide the single simple hello world upon language changes. Given the name language change only, if the selected language will be C, hello world program for C will be created, and same for C++, Java and Python. The logo image is also is stored in the images folder. Uh, this complete file has been built by referencing the J2EE specifications. Now, let's see the main code. The web.inf folder contains the classes folders in which the packaging has been done, named classes, ttj, compiler, and servlets. The runcode.java is the main servlet which will be run at every submission of the code. The run code class extends HTTP servlet, which makes the Java class a servlet. I implemented a do post method. In this, a string language which will be selected at the front end of the application will be I will collect the language here. Now I have built a uni string which is built by uuid.random uuid. It will build a universally random id which I will be using for input storage and code storage, which I will be compiling afterwards in the code only. Here I have built a string output and array strings. Now selecting for the home. What is home here? Home is the location of the compiler executable stored in my own system. If the language is C, then home is set to system.getEnv. What is system.getEnv here? System.getEnv provides the environmental variable named whose variable name is GCC. I have already set GCC underscore home as the location of the gcc.exe file in my system. Same is happening with C++, then Java C underscore home and Python underscore home. Now, extracting the code part from the code area of the HTML web page and the input portion, storing both, building a temporary folder with the path provided over here. You can provide any path of your choice. If the path does not exist, I'm making it with tmp folder.mkdir. Building the source file with the name of the uni string which I have already mentioned above. Opening the source file with the random ss file and writing the code in it. Above here only, I have also set the source file extensions also. Like if it is C, I had selected C.C as the extension. If it is C++, I have selected .cpp. If it is Java, then in Java, the main.java file will always be the main file. In Python, it will be as .py. Here in Java, it is always main.java. It is a constraint that I have to use to compile and run the Java files. Now I am closing the random access file pointer, and now since Python files are not needed to be compiled, it has to be run directly. So if the language is not Python, I am selecting the I am intended to compile the code first. Let's get here. Process builder has been created. Process builder, what does process builder do? Process builder create is used to run os level processes through our code. So I created a process builder, directed it to a given a directory, that tmp folder I have already specified above, and created a util list. Now I added home and source file to the list, and if the C or I have C++, So the extensions will be equal minus o and output dot exe, which I have specified here. pb dot command, and I have given the list to it. What it does is, whatever I have given in the list, it creates a command with those things. Like here I have given home and src. Home is the batch file, executable file of the compiler. Source src is the source file which I had already mentioned, and then if cc or c++ minus o with extensions .exe. Now I have created error.concat file, error file, sorry. I had created a file error.err with this location. Now I have redirected the output to standard error only. Like if any output is created while compilation, I want it to be redirected to stderr file only. Also, this standard pb.redirect error stream true. This means that if any error is getting created, it will be concatenated with the output only. Now I have created a start process and started it with pb.start, that is process builder.start, and wait for this command will make the process run, and I will pause the program till the code has completely compiled. Now I have created new random access file for the standard error file. If any error has been created, I want the whole HTML page is the same with only the output section containing the error, which I have selected, which I have written over down here. While the rf.get file pointer initially, which will be at the 0th point, it will start from till the pointer reaches rf.length, and it will start writing the output in the output data section only. Closing the raf file, random access file. Delete if the source file exists, then I am deleting it. If the standard exists, then I am deleting and returning it to the web server. Now closing the random access file and deleting source file and standard file, as we don't need them anymore. Now after the code has been compiled successfully, like if the code has any errors, it will have been written from here only. But if the code has compiled successfully, now I am creating another list of commands with array list. Sorry. If language dot equals c or c++, so my command will initiate with c, the batch location for the batch file, and then the source file and all those things. Like for compiling c, we have written gcc space, so the location for the gcc file, and then it's the name of the source executable. For running, we only need the executable files which have been specified over here. Like if we have c, we only need the executable dot output dot executable, and if we have java, then we only need the class file name, main class name. And in python, we directly writes that py or python and the file name or the code file. Now if there is any input that is provided by the user, so we only need input if the code is compiled successfully. So if there is any input provided by the user, we are storing it in standard in file. Here rf and random access file, read write mode, I have opened read write mode and write the input data and then closed it. Now creating another process builder pp and giving it the commands for running the code, either it be c, c++, java or python. Creating string result I've created with unistring only, with the concatenation of output.data for any output that I'm going to create. Created a file standard out. This is created for the output that I'm going to have after running the code or the compiled code. Now pb.redirect, I already mentioned about these things. pb.redirect input, this specifies that if the code needs any kind of input, which is generally we have standard input files, like if you are standard in, but now the code will take the input from the file I have mentioned here, this which is standard in. We have created the standard in file above only with this path, and stored the input from the user in this file. Now we started the process for the running of the compiled file, and now we get want to get back to the responses. Whatever it will be, either it be a successful output or it will be an errored output, it will be sent back to the output section of the UI. So I get the print writer from response and then set the content type to text/html, and I did the whole page. This section contains the selected language which was already selected. So I don't want that every time I refresh the page I get another language or something else. If I had once selected C++, if I'm running it, I want the C++ to be selected here. So this portion is for that. Here I have specified for any kind of output. Here you can see for output data, any kind of output, either it be error or output, it will be specified over here and send to the it will be sent to the web page. And now I'm deleting the standard input, standard output files, and even the executable files because I don't need them anymore. And that's it for the code portion. I will provide the GitHub link in the description.